comes from, for in B2B, comes from the direct selling, right? Direct, when salespersons go and make those sales. Balance 50% is combined all together from your website, from your channel partners, from your manufacturing representative, your partners. 50% is major part of your sales comes from direct sales force, from your own sales force, and that is why it is much more important in B2B. So, so think about in this way: customer is buying something, a organization is buying something from you, right? So they are also going through a lot of processes. It is not that they decide and tomorrow they pay you a check and it is done, right? Think about TCS, or let's say think about SAP is selling a ERP solution to Kit. So what Kit will be doing? They are going through their buying process, right? So they understood a need that okay, we need to have a ERP system implemented. So they started discussing, they started putting what are the requirement. So that is the product specification. So this is there are many names to it. Tender, basically it is a tender, request for proposal, request for quote, RFP, RFQ, lot of names are there. So basically they start putting those tenders, right? So we need a proposal. Let's say SAP, Oracle, other vendors who are there in that segment, right? So they will start putting the proposal, right? Then obviously the analysis, comparison of different proposals, who is a better vendor, who is a better supplier, who is a better partner. Then order specification, that is what we discussed, right? When the implementation, software implementation will happen, when the training will happen, regular maintenance or regular kind of product update, when that will happen. So those are the order specifications, right? Then performance assessment, right? Each quarter, each 6 months, or each 1 year, that vendor need to be regularly evaluated, right? If they are not performing, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, obviously that is a big advantage and challenge in B2B. If in B2C, if let's say I'm using certain product and the product quality is poor, next month I will not buy, right? But in B2B, what happens? You have a certain contract, right? Obviously, if quality is poor, you can always challenge that, but at least you have to meet that contract period, right? Let's say Kit implemented SAP, right? It is a huge investment. Suddenly, it is not that if the, let's say, software is not working, next year I'll change. So I'll make a lot of loss. Capital investment has happened. So at least whenever any kind of this kind of procurement happens, it is for a long term, right? Sales process itself takes time, and the horizon when the product or services are going to be used is also like a long term. So this is happening at key 10, right? When from the SAP end or from the Oracle end, those buyers, sellers, right? They also will be looking towards who is requiring our ERP solutions. They will be prospecting, they will be doing a cold call, right? Pre-approach. So when they come and meet kit university officials who are going to take the decisions, ICT, pro vice chancellor, talking about your products, talking about their solutions, going through the sales pitch, right? Sales presentations and overcoming reservations, right? So this is where the kind of so there is a term called like pilot sales, right? Or not necessarily pilot sale. So it is basically when you try to understand, rather than selling your product or a solution, you start asking customers, is there any concern or is there any problem at this point of time? Do you think that you will not buy our product or solutions, right? So think about in this way: if let's say customer is not willing to pay more than 10 lakhs for any kind of product, or let's say this SAP implementation, right? And let's say SAP is minimum price range is 50 lakhs or 1 crore, right? Below that they will not go, right? So rather than dragging it for forever, when you know that customers hands are tied, right? They cannot go below that. And that is something you always should remember whenever you are making that B2B sales pitch, right? Understand whether there is any constraints at customer's end. Because see, whenever this kind of purchases happens, they also have a budget. They cannot go beyond that. And you also will have a target. You cannot go below that. You will have a range to meet. So if that is one big concern, if that is not there, then only proceed, right? And that is one of the biggest mistakes salespeople do. They'll keep dragging, they'll keep putting effort, And at the end, customers will feel that no, in no way I cannot spend um, more than X amount, more than 10 lakh rupees, which is not possible as a company to sell your product or solutions at that cheap rate, right? And that is should happen lot before in the beginning itself, right? And gauging that is the most important aspect of a salespeople. If you can understand that whether this customer, obviously at that point of time he is not your customer, he is a lead or a prospect, right? Whether actually he is going to make an investment of that much amount of money, right? And if you are able to understand that and back away, that will be a lot better than rather than putting a lot of effort and at the end realize that they cannot spend that amount of money, right? Then the closing the sales and follow up, right? So this also, so what this slide basically say is it is not a single process linkage, right? As and when the your customers are going through your their sale like buying process, your selling process also need to be linked stage by stage. Whenever they are looking for these product specifications, you have to keep approaching them, right? So it is not that they need a product right now this year and you started approaching them. There might be a future requirement, you have to approach for a future requirement, right? And that is what pre-approach means. Then whenever the continuous or the like sales process is happening, you have to like give a sales presentation, which is obviously there closing the sales. So there is something called pre-closing, like demo closing or pilot closing, right? And that is where you will decide that okay, whether you will start putting much more effort, whether actually putting effort on this sales account makes sense, right? Then obviously sales happens. Once your sales happens, your so you like most of the times what will happen once sales happens, that account now will be handled by the customer service manager, right? You do not have much more because sales has already happened, right? Depending upon which role you are playing. If you are a customer sales service manager, right, once sales happens all the details will come to you. Now you will be in day to day kind of, not necessarily day to day, but obviously you will be in contact with customers. If they face any problem, you are the person who will be like helping them, right? But as a sales manager or as a sales officer, your work will get over once you close the sales. Maybe 3 months, 6 months down the line, you will follow up for additional requirement, right? So salespeople need to know about their customers' business, and this is what I was talking about. The experience you gain working in B2B sector, right? And that is like if you are working in any B2B sales company you think of, right? It is not about your product or solutions, right? You also have to understand how your product and solutions are helping your customers and that customer's customer, right? Think about in this way. TCS is providing certain ERP solutions to SPI. So they need to understand why SPI is implementing that ERP solutions, what kind of advantages SPI will get. They also need to understand how that will help SPI's customers. SPI's customers are people like you and me, right? The like kind of the persons, those people who have accounts in SPI. So what kind of challenge they face? Let's say they want to have a RTGS payment or NEFT payment. Whenever they put a wrong pin, or let's say there is a spelling mistake in name, or the and let's say or there is a like kind of by mistake they put a comma or a full stop somewhere, the payment is not happening. That can be a challenge of your customer's customer. But as a company, when you are serving as TCS, when they are serving SPI, they also have to understand SPI's customer also, right? What kind of challenges they face in these kind of transactions. If you are providing ATM software, which Infosys does, and the Finacle software, they also have to understand where it is not about their providing that ATM software to these banks. They also have to understand what kind of challenges a customer face whenever they come to this ATM. Let's say blind person comes to ATM, he cannot or she cannot see the keys, right? Does my software allow access to those kind of individuals? What kind of software modifications need to be done? Somebody who is physically challenged, who is a blind or who is deaf, right? So that is somewhere you have to understand your customer's customer also, right? So B2B sales funnel, again, there are different models: account-based marketing, provocative sales, consultative sales. But normally what happens, you start with normal like prospect or lead, then lead will become a prospect. So they are now aware about your product. So I have a this kind of challenges. Let's say Kit understood, or a bank understood that they need to implement a ERP solution, right? So I guess we have discussed this. MQL means marketing qualified lead, right? Now going through your website or going through your advertisement, customers understood that okay, this person can be a kind of a uh, vendor for me or a supplier for me, right? So one of not your senior, 2 years of your senior. So uh, he like kind of a, they had a family business and he wanted to expand it, right? So the idea he was working on is basically just before COVID happened, all these kind of testing, blood testing and all those things, right? So generally what happens, people come to your doors and they collect those kind of samples, right? So what he was basically working on, so he will like kind of take those old ambulances or old kind of those kind of vehicles, uh, do modifications, put those small like kind of, it is like a remote labs, right? So it can go to the remote locations, villages, and do all those kind of blood tests, whatever normal test can be done, right? Small tests. So those villagers need not have to come to cities, right? So which is again difficult for them, right? He was working on that idea. So the challenge what he was facing, he recruited few people who will go, so medical like kind of those uh, kind of personals who will go and carry out those blood testing, nursing professionals, right? So the challenge was facing how to schedule that, understand his problem. He has those kind of vehicles, 8 to 10 ambulances he modified. He also recruited around 25 to 30 these nursing professionals who are trained, who can go and take the blood sample. Now what kind of, he has a system issue, right? He wants a system, he wants a software where whenever a customer is putting a, so now who is his customer? Village people, those people who do not have this kind of services. If it is in Bhubaneswar or Kolkata, I can call, there are many labs will come to like my home or my apartment and take blood sample. But in villages, it is not there, right? So now what happens? His vehicle will go, his those modified ambulances will go to the person's house and take the blood sample, right? So that kind of, so it is a remote lab, and within 1 hour or half an hour, you can provide the test report. So if he's working on that, so now initially he started using Excel to kind of get the account details or the calls. People can call through like number was provided, they can call and schedule the appointment. But as the customer base grow, now the challenge is how to handle that, right? So obviously you need to have people like who will be taking the calls, putting address details and all those things, which is time taking. Can I have a system which automatically take the details, assign resources? Otherwise, assignment has to happen manually, right? I need to assign a vehicle that will go to this village, other vehicle will go to that village. In that vehicle, which resources, some resources has taken a leave, right? Understand the challenge, what is happening. Now, Ajay, like if I am the like that person right now is looking for solutions, right? And that is that moment, right? I have that issue, right? Right now, I have that issue. I am not able to manage the schedule of my employees, nor also I'm not able to manage the customer appointment. Customer is requesting for help. Customer need a blood test to be done tomorrow morning. So which vehicle I need to send? Which employee I need to send, right? So now what will happen? So they will look for different solution. They'll search and like so that uh, the student, your senior, called me. So I also did not know exactly those kind of software, so I also started searching. So that is where you will like kind of start inquiring about the business, because nobody knows like of your mind, you will not able to recall who are those kind of companies who provide these kind of services, right? Now in that initial search, if your advertising marketing strategy is good, so once I start searching, your keywords are good, you have put a lot of blogs, you have put a lot of content on your website, or you are a big brand, right? And that is where branding and marketing helps, right? Once I start searching, okay, I need a scheduling software to manage my employee time, or I need a scheduling software or appointment software, right? So your software, that name should come on front, right? Your whatever the company's name should come on the Google search bar, right? And that is where the marketing plays a role. If your marketing programs are solid, if you have done a good optimization, the search engine optimization, or if you are a established brand, your name will be in that first 10 or 15 names, right? So that is where now I understand, okay, there are, so now I understand, okay, yes, there are softwares, there are scheduling software, there are appointment softwares, right? So this is where marketing qualified lead will happen, right? So due to your marketing effort, so marketing effort is a long term. It is not that you did yesterday some blog and today I found it. So you start writing about your product solutions for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Then somebody after 3 years down the time, they will look into your product because now they can search and find your product or solutions in internet. Then obviously that will now go into contact that software vendor, right? So there are 8 or 10 software vendors who actually. So what will be my kind of, if I am that startup, I am that person. So my aim will be to get a product or get a software who can schedule my employees time, who can schedule my patients time. Obviously I do not want to pay because I'm a startup. I do not want to pay more, right? Can I get all these services with the cheapest price? That is my intent, right? Now I'll start interacting with those 5 and 6 vendors, right? So that is where the sales team of those vendors, let's say Freshdesk or whatever other vendors are available in that domain, right? Joho to some extent. So they will start interacting with me, right? Look from that salesperson's guy, right? So that salesperson is starting to interact with me, trying to understand what problem I have, what kind of solution I want. Now that will get into sales qualified lead, right? SQL is not a structured query language in here. It is sales qualified lead, right? So now the sales team is started qualifying this lead, right? They, and whichever gets that, like, okay, as a customer, I understand that, okay, this is the company which looks like has a perfect solution for me, right? Now it is qualified. Now we'll start negotiating. No, I do not want to pay per month. I will start paying usage basis. That vendor will tell, no, sir, we generally do not take usage basis. Why don't you take quarter basis? I'll give you 20% discount, right? And that is where the negotiation is happening, right? From my side, I need that product or solution, but I can give only this much amount of money. From the vendor side, they want to sell me the product, but they want to obviously make the profit or make the margin, right? And after that negotiation and everything, onboarding will happen. And this is where the like kind of, so if you see, this is like kind of zooming in, right? So you selected a product, you selected a solution, and I bought that product or solution. Once onboarding happens regularly, as a account manager, you have to keep in touch with customer. Okay, what kind of problem they are facing? So that is where your cross-selling, upselling concepts will come, right? Because they have taken a product or solution. Now you have a foot in the door. Now you'll start saying, sir, you have taken this scheduling and appointment software. Why don't you take a this employee performance software? We have a excellent because right now you have 100 employees. Managing the performances will be difficult for you, right? Why don't you take that additional suite? We'll charge only $10 per employee. So that is where your cross sell will come or upsell. Okay, sir, we have a very like we have updated the software. So now we have added some additional features. What we are using is basic one. Why don't you take a premium one? So that will become upselling, right? And obviously you will be like understanding your how your product or solutions are impacted, right? And you'll start increasing your amount of money you get from the customer, because you as and when you start increasing your gamut of services which you provide to that customer, you'll increase the revenue, right? So this is known as MRR, right? Monthly recurring revenue. If I put annually, it will be ARR, annual recurring revenue. So that is how all those B2B SaaS companies, basically software as a service companies, are kind of measure their revenue. It is not the total revenue. It is that what is the recurring revenue they are getting every month or every year, right? TCS has around uh, I don't remember. So there are certain customers each day they get 2 crore of rupees. So yearly around 700 or 800 crores of rupees. So those are the big customers. Those are the key accounts. So each day they are getting 2 crore of revenue from those customers. So that is where your growth happens, right? So you sell one product or solution and you start expanding them, right? And that is where your zooming out expansion is happening, right? So this is most of these SaaS companies use this kind of model, which is known as bow tie model, right? And any questions on this? LTV is basically lifetime value, right? So that is as a customer relationship management program. It will calculate that okay, in a 3 year or 5 year duration, how much revenue you are getting from that particular customer, right? So that is where the concept comes, right? An existing customer is much more valuable than a new customer, right? Getting a revenue from existing customer, additional revenue is much more easy than getting that additional revenue from a new customer. Any questions, any doubt on this? So now what happens? How will you organize your sales force, right? Uh, I have a product or I have a software or I have a solution. I'm a B2B company. How should I organize my sales force, right? So there are basically three types of organizational structure: geographical, as simple as that. If let's say it is in India, I can geography wise different territories: north, south, west, east, or central, right? Or product based, right? I am selling to different kind of softwares or different kind of product. Let's say General Electric or Philips, right? So they are into different domains. So they are selling healthcare product, they are selling automotive product, they are product industrial lighting product, right? So so that I can define my sales organization product based, right? Or market center, what actually customer wants, right? Same product can be there. So this is much more better, right? I can sell the same product, same software, but market requirement will be different. ERP software. ERP software is a same software, but module wise, the usage of ERP software will be different for different market, different industry, different sectors. I'm selling the same product, but the requirement from customer side is different. So I'll divide depending upon my customer requirement, right? So geographical is mostly easy, common form. So it is because if let's say I decide, okay, I'll put my sales for geographically. So northern territory only northern sales, those salespeople who are assigned northern territory, they will deal with those states who part of that northern territory. Similarly, eastern part, western part, southern and central part, right? Travel distance will be less, right? Because they are in that headquarters, they will be traveling within 200 or 400 kilometer of radius, right? So, but the challenge is because that territory, that if when I talk for northern territory, those salespeople has to sell all the product. It is not that in northern territory I will only sell this kind of software or this kind of product. So they need to have an understanding, clear understanding of all the product or solutions, right? So that additional training is required, right? If I distribute or if I divide my sales organization geographically, right? Product organization. So irrespective of, I am not putting okay, you will only deal with northern part. It is not like that. I'll have offices, but you will deal with product. So the previous organization I worked, there are 11 verticals, 11 SPO, strategic business unit. So 11 different product types they are selling. They are into this kind of uh, assembly line, those products. They are also compressors. They are also with this air conditioners, right? So if I assign my salespeople product wise, so those people who are into those compressors, they only will deal with compressors, irrespective of geographical requirement. If somebody in Delhi requires, if somebody in Trivandrum requires, if somebody in Gujarat or Ahmedabad requires, those salespeople only will deal with them. So they are dealing with product wise. If it is geographic wise, so if I have salespeople in Gujarat, Naroda, or Ahmedabad, they will deal with all the product in western part of India, right? So that is the difference, right? In product sector, you deal with product, you have that clear understanding, detailed understanding about one product, and you will be selling across different geographical industry, geographical sectors, right? So this is where the added advantage comes. So somebody will have an expert. So he is selling compressor, or he is selling a industrial lighting, or he is selling a artificial intelligence chatbot. He will have a very detailed understanding of how that works. He can understand what competitors are doing, right? Detailed industrial knowledge of that product, right? Market center organization, which is right now most of the organizations, most of the companies are moving into that structure, right? Because now what they understand, even with that product usage will be different across industries. So if you get into all any B2B company, they are now looking into sectors. So they are dividing their sales force according to customer sectors. So if you go to TCS, they will be into different verticals: healthcare verticals, banking verticals, financial verticals, automotive verticals. So same software they're selling, but what happens? The usage, the modification, the customizations will be different across different sectors, right? So that is what known as market-centered organization or customer-centered organization, right? Which is much more prevalent in today's world, right? Any questions on this? So sales role, inbound sales or outbound sales. Inbound sales are basically when you like do not go out of office, you from the office itself, you start contacting persons, right? Sorry, so that is inside sales. Inbound sales are basically when requirement or the specification requirement comes to you directly, right? You need not have to try for that, right? So there will be group of sales executives who are handling that. Let's say inquiry came from your website, or somebody in the you have a trade show, right? So some of the inquiries came from those trade show customers. One of the big customer requirement comes from all those trade shows website. So if you see, go to this any company, right? So in the website there will be contact form, right? All these will be kind of inbound sales, right? So there will be people, there will be representative, there will be sales representative who will be looking into inbound sales. Directly it is coming from the customer side. Customers have started inquiring about your product or solution. Outbound sales representative or field sales representative are the ones who actually go to the market, who do those cold calls. So two ways, right? Sales funnel, either customer is inquiring about your product, or you directly go and start contacting customers, do those cold calling, right? If you are a startup, you have to do those outbound, right? So if you see, look into out most of the startups, so they start with this outbound, because unless people realize you are selling those kind of product or solutions, nobody will inquire about your product, right? And gradually there will be requirement of inbound sales, right? Those people who kind of deal with those kind of requirement, right? Where customers approaching themselves, right? So once you get that, again, if it is a startup, you have to play all the roles, right? You are the one who will go to the field. You are the one who will be account executive, who will be closing the deals. You are the one who will be dealing with the customer, like kind of success or customer service managers, right? If any problem customer faces, you are the only who are dealing with, right? Most of the startups, most of the early growth companies, they do not have separate structure. But for a established company, big companies, right, they will have different individuals who will be dealing with cold calling. Individuals will go and get those contact details. Individuals will be based on customer requirement, customer inquiry, right, getting those contact, right? And there will be separate executive who will be account closers, right? So they will go and finalize the deal, right? Then there will be somebody who will be like kind of maintaining the relationship, right? Account executive, customer success, or customer service managers, right? But again, if it is a startup, you might have to play, though it is written on job description or not, you have to play all the roles, right? So that is how your this inside sales in sorry, inbound sales and outbound sales comes, right? Inbound sales, a prospective customer is inquiring. Outbound sales, basically you are doing a cold calling, right? So here Customers are a little bit of our what they want, right? Because they have started inquiring, right? Here, your effort has to make the customer understand, okay, you might have that problem. If you're not using this kind of software or if you're not using that kind of product, you might have that kind of problem, right? You might face this issue in future, right? So that is the role difference of inbound and outbound sales. Any questions on this? So now the question comes, then what is key account management, right? Which is typically a role in B2B marketing. So purchases a significant volume. Again, different companies will have different criteria, but the normal or the standard criteria. So just think about in this way. So that Pareto rule, right? 20% of the customer giving me 80% revenue, right? So like I was giving that example, TCS, there are around 50 or 100 customers who are giving 700 or 800 crore business per customer in a year. So they are the key account, right? Involve several organizational members in a purchasing decision. So it is a big team from the customer end, right? Who will decide, right? It is not that only one or two persons. So basically, it is a bigger organization or a bigger customer in other way, right? Buys for a geographically dispersed organization, right? Again, this might not be a very important point, but generally what happens, so this is something, if you remember, there are companies who are centralized procurement and decentralized procurement, right? So most of the key account, which when we look into, we are looking into centralized procurement, right? So what happens if let's say TCS is selling something to SPI, right? So they are not selling it to SPI Delhi or SPI North, SPI South or SPI West. They are directly contacting SPI headquarters. And once they purchase that software or solution, that will implement across India or across wherever SPI has, Nepal or Bangladesh or wherever SPI has branches, right? So that is where we are looking into those kind of account. Otherwise, what will happen? I have to put a lot more sales effort. Same product I'm selling it to, let's say, SPI, Odisha, some offices, then in West Bengal, some other offices, I have to contact differently, right? So when I talk about bias for a geographically dispersed organization, what we mean is, so that is a centralized procurement organization. Their procurement team is centralized, centrally organized, right? So some people, some purchase managers in headquarter are dealing with this kind of product or solutions, and they have a customized requirement. Most of the times this key account concept comes, right, not from the off the shelf product, right? If let's say Cisco is selling something, Cisco is selling many solutions, there are network router switches which are off the shelf, right? Somebody just can buy them. For that you do not need a key account manager, because those are the off the shelf product. They can sell it, buy it from your channel partners also, they can buy it from e-commerce site also, right? For that they don't need any customized support. But let's say if a customer need a specific network implementation, right? So they need help on some network or cyber security, right? So that is where the customization requirement happens, right? Logistical support, inventory management, price discounts, customized applications. So they need something different, which is not off the shelf, which they just cannot buy from your channel partner, which they just cannot buy from your e-commerce site, right? Some amount of customization required. It can be product customization, or it can be your inventory. It can be on the logistical support. They cannot store in their warehouses. You have to store the product for themselves, right? Like it happens for the printer cartridges. So as a university, we might not buy cartridges at a lot. Let's say buy 100 cartridges or 500 cartridges, store it in our university. What you will do? You keep your cartridges, as and when I need those printer cartridges, you send it within 2 days. So that is a customized requirement from our side, right? So that is where your key account is different from your traditional account. The main criteria is those account who bring lot of revenue for you, right? So purchase significant volume and percentage sales. Then other criteria fall in place. Any questions on the definition? Again, different companies will have different criteria. Like I said, TCS might have a criteria. Okay, those customers who are giving me 500 crores or 300 crore in a year, right? So that cannot be said for a startup, right? So they might say that okay, those customers who are we are getting 10 lakh or 5 lakh rupees in a year, right? So again, different companies will have that criteria will be different, right? It is not a standard criteria that over 5 crore, this is a key account, less than 5 crore, it's a not a key account. It won't be like that. Any questions on this? So traditional selling focus, key account selling focus, then how the selling process is different. Volume, traditional selling varies. Again, in your key account sale, large volume of purchases by the customer across multiple business of the seller, right? It is not only about the one or two kind of sales, right? Like I said, it is a centralized purchases. They might be buying it for different geographies, different areas, different sectors of their business, right? Nature of product, they are selling a core product or service. That means they can just buy it from channel partner. They do not need any kind of customization, right? But in key account, most of otherwise, why they will come to you? They can just directly from, like I was giving that example of Cisco routers or switches. I just can go into Amazon and buy 50 routers or 50 switches. I need not have to contact Cisco, but I need certain customization. I need certain additional security, and I am willing to pay for that. Then that will come into the key account activities, right? This is a short term, right? So most of the time, what happens? Traditional sales keep happening, and as company understand, okay, some customers are buying regularly from us, and they are willing to pay much more for customized solutions, right? They some traditional account gradually become key accounts, right? In a longer term, benefits to customer, lower prices as higher quality. So here key account, obviously in a traditional sales, the first criteria or the most important criteria is, can I get the maximal benefit with less cost? Anytime a purchase manager or procurement manager is buying something, the main criteria is less cost, right? I need all the quality product, but with less cost. But obviously here also will be the same challenge, but total cost of ownership, right? Over the time. So think about in this way. It is not only about, okay, this year you saved 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, or 10 lakh rupees, right? Over the horizon of 3 year or 5 year, how much help or how much advantage you are able to provide to that customer, right? So it is a long term focus, right? And it is over the strategic benefits, right? So implementation of PRP, it is very costly, but the help it does to organizations to manage resources is immense, right? So that is where your strategic benefits come. Salesforce objectives, obviously maximize revenue, satisfied customer. Here, basically, you are not looking at a supplier or a vendor, right? You are looking into a partnership, long-term partnership with a customer, lifetime value, right? Monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue. So those concepts will come into picture rather than just to make a sales and done with it, right? Structure of selling center, individual salesperson is primarily linked to a customer organization. So one person will be dealing with that. Here in key account management, there will be a group of people, right? I'll show that who are the part of that group. Generally, a key account manager, then a logistics person, then a finance person. So there will be 5 and 6 individuals will be part of that key account manager group, right? We'll be dealing with those because there will be certain challenges with inventory. So that logistics manager will be handling that, right? So key account manager need not have to do everything. He will be a single point of contact handling the team, right? Handling the team of finance, logistics, then maybe insurance. Sometimes insurance might need, right? Structure of buying center, purchasing managers and few other individuals are involved in the buying decision. That is from the buyer's side, right? Many individuals with customer organization interact. So this is not only the purchase managers. The in a key account sales, think about the ERP implementation. It is a key account sales. So it is not only the ICT team. Here the faculties will be involved. Here your administration team will be involved. Here your training and development team will be involved. Finance team will be involved on the customer side, right? So that is why it is much more kind of a group buying or group selling process rather than an individual one person to one, or uh, you go and talk with purchase manager and the deal is done. It won't happen like that, right? Any questions on this? So this is what I was talking about. So whenever we talk about key account management, the team basically, there will be key account manager who is like kind of lead the team. There will be people from sales, marketing, finance, logistics, engineering, other functional areas. So when you talk about key account manager, it is not that okay, only one person and he is doing everything, right? It won't be happen. So if I say that you are a key account manager in TCS, there will be people who will be reporting either directly or indirectly to like kind of. So let's say if you are selling, so I am into healthcare. I'm a key account manager in healthcare services. So I'm looking to all the software which will be selling to these hospitals, right? So engineering team will be working with me to understand what kind of problems or challenges those hospitals are facing, what kind of software solutions they need, right? But the role is basically you are the single point of contact for the client, right? So client is not directly going to contact your engineering team, not your finance team. Let's say there is a billing issue or invoice issue, or there is an inventory issue. You are selling certain compressors or certain product and it has not reached their location, so they are not going to directly reach out to that logistics person, so they are going to reach out to you, the key account manager, and key account manager will be handling that team of these all people, right? So you are doing lot of things: relationship management, client communication, client need, which is most important because as in when you are able to understand client needs, future business will come from there, right? Cross selling and upselling opportunities, proposing new solutions, feedback and evaluation every 3 months or 2 months. You have to understand what is going good and what is going bad, right? What are the things you need to change? Because client, if they are happy, 3 years down the line, they'll go to some other supplier, right? Quality assurance, negotiating terms and conditions. So those are the many roles as a single individual you have to play, right? But again, that's why it is lucrative. They pay a lot of money to these key account managers. Very few people get into that role, but if you get there, your career is set. So how do you choose your key account, right? Basically, if let's say I am TCS or if I am from TCS and I want to understand who will be my key account, right? First I have to understand what is this. So whether I'm going to make money, right, in the long term, whether I'm going to make money, profit potential, then degree of customer is willing to pay for extra services. Remember what we discussed in key account. They are giving us revenue or profit. Second is they need some customization, right? So if they need customization but they are not willing to pay, so I'm not going to sell them those product or services, right? So how to select your key account? So look into your account attractiveness, right? So let's say I have 1,000 businesses, 1,000 companies whom I can serve. Account attractiveness is low and high. How do you measure account attractiveness? Based upon the size of that company, growth potential, profitability, location, purchase criteria, current supplier, status of customer. Think about this way. If let's say TCS is going to serve, let's say Boeing or Airbus, currently might be only for $10,000 or $50,000, but you know that it is a big brand name. So a lot of startups do that. So if some of you have gone through that research, so they are looking into those clients: Vodafone Idea, Tata Motors, IKEA. They might have just done a pilot project, but what like helps them in a way, because they are big brands. They can now they can claim that they have worked for IKEA. They have worked for a solution for Vodafone India or Tata Motors, right? So a lot of times you have to think in that way also. Long-term profit potential can, because if I'm associated with that brand, lot of other companies later on can get associated with me. Now I can put that case study in my website, right? So account attractiveness will depend on all these things, right? It might be a short-term profit potential or long-term branding proposition. If I'm working with, let's say, IKEA, it is a big like kind of a thing for me as a startup. Then also you have to understand your own business strength. What kind of product range? Do I have only one product or I have a range of product? Sorry, I got disconnected. Where was I? So you have to look into your business strength also, whether actually you have different type of solutions to provide to customers, right? Most of the startups face that issue, right? Because they start with a single product or a solution. When you go to make a sales pitch to customer will be looking into many solutions, right? Many products. You might not have those kind of solutions. That is where you have to partner with other similar suppliers or vendors. Product
Sir,
efficiencies, yeah,
sir, in
yeah.
that table, the strong and weak, that is same as low or high.
No, strong and weak is for your business strength. Account attractiveness is for low and high. Whether that so account attractiveness for your customer. Business strength is for your like for your company. What are your business strength? Whether you are strong or whether you are weak. If let's say I take about that Orisa, right? Orisa, that company which I gave you for that promotional material, right? So when they are looking into account attractiveness,
Yes.
so they will be looking into customers. So what are different customers? What are their sizes? Some customers will be very big brand like IKEA, status of the customer, prestigious, but they are going to give you very small amount of money, right? So that is what you have to decide, right? Whether that account attractiveness will be high or low. So this account attractiveness is for your customers. Business strength is for you, whether I have the capacity to provide those kind of services or solutions, whether it is strong or low, weak.
Okay, sir.
So as a Orisa,
Uh,
if I look into product range, I have only one product right now, conversational tech, right? Only one platform. So that is weak.
okay, sir.
So what kind of price I'm
Not.
charging, what kind of associated services, right? Past experience, quality of sales staff, quality of relationship, past experience. So compare that to TCS. TCS will have lot of solutions. TCS have lot of experience, right? So that is where your business strength will come into picture. Now what will happen if you look into certain account, right, which have a high potential, right, and you have a strong kind of business strength also. Let's say somebody is looking into IKEA, Tata Motors, or Vodafone Idea. So they are strong account, right? High, like good attractiveness. Attractiveness is very high, and you also have
Sir,
particular, yeah.
sir, in account attractiveness, if you consider location, and as you said, if you consider Odisha state, but for TCS or any other company, they are not particularly focused about Odisha location. They have projects some different location out of Odisha, means inside India. So how they can means measure that according to the region or state?
No, again, depending upon your product, right? So TCS might not look into their customers location wise. Customer TCS might be looking into what kind of areas they're like, what is the profitability or size of the customers. If there is a company in Odisha which is big in size, they'll obviously will try to deal with them. So it is not that you will look into all those. So these are one factors. So as a company, you cannot take all of them. So there will be companies which are size is very big, but location will be poor. So they might not, a company might not look into all the checklist, right? So take one or two factors, right? If you take all the factors, all the companies will not fall into place. Right? So these are the suggested factors out of which you can take one or two and accordingly select your key account. So if I say no, size will be there, growth will be there, profitability will be there, location also will be good. So I might only find one or two companies like that, right? So this is
Okay, sir.
only suggestive factors, right? Out of that, select one or two and select your key account. Similarly, business strength. So there won't be any company where everything will be there. So one or two take, right, which is much more important. Let's say product range. Right now, Orisa do not have product range, do not have past experience, reputation, image, do not have. Can I work on my price? My strength on price, the price what I'm charging in that sector is comparatively very strong. If somebody is selling from TCS or Infosys, they are charging a lot. So that is my strength. The price point is my strength. But other might be poor. I do not have experience. I do not have quality sales staff. Right. So but I cannot take all of that, right? I will take two or three and try to put into here, right? So same example, if I take Orisa as a company, I'll try to look into two or three factors. What are my strength, strong or weak in that area? What are the account attractiveness of my customer, right? So if account attractiveness is high and I have also strength there, right? It is basically matching with my strength and what is a customer want. Customers need conversational take, they have that requirement, and attractiveness is high. The amount of profit I'll take or the amount of brand association I'll get is high. So I have to invest there. I have to grow that account, right? But in other way around, account attractiveness is there, but I do not have product range. The customer is looking into two or three different solutions, not only the chatbots. They are looking into customer relationship management also, but I do not have strength there. So that is somewhere I have to selectively invest. Where I do not have that capacity, I do not have that kind of strength. I have to invest in those areas. Let's say I do not have a relationship management software. I might tie up with Market or HubSpot or Salesforce. I can take their license. I can be a partners, form a partnership with them and provide that solution to customer, right? So that is where your selectively investment will come. Other one, my business strength is low. Account attractiveness is also low. So ideally, what should happen? Initially, let's say I started dealing with those customers, but ideally I should withdraw, right? Ideally, I should move out from that market. Let's say initially, because I'm a startup, I took certain account, right? I started dealing with certain customers, but the amount of money I make is low. Account attractiveness is low, and my strength is also low, very poor there. I had promised them, and I am trying to form partnership and providing those software or solutions to them. But I'm making a loss there because I do not have a lot of expertise there, right? So ideally, I should move away from there, right? Withdraw. Your account if attractiveness is low, but you have a good strength there, right? So maintain. Why you are maintaining there? Depending upon company, right? So you might be getting less money, but you have a strength there. So you are a great market share there. Let's say in conversational take, this company is able to acquire 20% or 30% of the market share in one sector. Let's say all the hospitals across India, 30% of the hospitals or healthcare service, or let's say 40% of them use my software. Account attractiveness is low. The amount of profit I make, obviously I will never go to loss, but the amount of profit I make is less, but I have a strength in that area. I am the market leader in that area. So you maintain there without much investment because you are already solid there. And account, the profit you are getting from that account is low. So you need not put much more money, much more effort there. You just maintain there. Where you have to invest, you know that you can do a cross selling, can do a upselling, right? So here you start doing investing and growing your like kind of sales force or promotions, right? So this is how you choose your key accounts. So ideally, these are the area where investment and growth, your business strength is strong and account attractiveness is high. So those few accounts which will form in this area. So these will become your key accounts, right? Any questions on this? So look into the last point. Consider transactions with the customer that complement the economics of the seller's business, right? So always look into long term. Obviously, in a startup, that becomes a problem because unless you start making business, nobody is going to invest money in your business, right? You will not get funding from this VCs. But once you are established, let's say 2 to 3 years down the line, look into this way that okay, whether getting that account, right, long term has a value for me, right? So always we have heard that okay, customers reject product or customers reject solution, but as a seller or as a vendor or as a supplier also you can reject certain customers. When you realize that long term you are going to make loss in those accounts, right? So strategically what will do, manage for cash or withdraw from those account, right? You will not renew the contract, We'll say that okay, because we have a contract, we'll support for next 3 years. After 3 years, we'll withdraw, right? So that is something you have to manage, right? It is not that you have to continuously making loss in those accounts. Any questions on this? Account manager is responsible for diagnosing customer need, which is basically start with the planning step, identifying matching set of internal experts, right? So sometimes what happen, right, depending upon like what kind of problem a customer is facing, what kind of solution a customer is requiring, right? So you become the bridge between your customers and your company, right? So some resources might be in some other project, right? You might have to drag them out, right? And that is where internal networking helps. So it is not about outside networking. Think about in this way: a customer is facing a software like Java problem. It is a JavaScript problem, right? In your team right now, you do not have a resource from JavaScript who can help or who can develop those kind of, or you do not have a solution architect. If you do not have that kind of network, internal networking within that company, where you can go and approach those solution architects and get them on board with you, becomes a challenge, right? So key account manager is not only for outside networking, where you are networking with customers. You have to have a lot of inside network also inside your company, right? Where whenever you need, you will be able to get that resource on your team, right? Recruiting these experts onto an ad hoc team as a customer or a opportunity require, right? Because right now customer has a problem with JavaScript, that some JavaScript code which was written long back is not working. So you need those solution architect which will work with you for next 3 months to help that customer. Then after 3 months, he can go back to other projects. So that is an ad hoc team, right? And for that, you need that kind of power. You need that kind of internal networking. Either you have a solid power, you will go directly to the VP, get that resource, or based on your internal network, based on your relationship, you can get those resources, right? And that is where that position is very powerful. You have both outside network and inside also. You are kind of have that kind of power to get those resources on board. So what are the roles basically of a sales force as you grow in your career, right? So from the sales executive, from the area sales executive, area sales manager, regional manager, territory manager, right? So basically it is a career progression, right? So starting with much of your activities will be in the field sales, right? Either outbound or inbound sales, but basically you'll be directly dealing with customers. But as and when you grow in your career progression 3 to 5 years down the line, you will become a sales manager or a territory manager where you are handling many sales executive, 100 sales executive, 50 sales interns, right? So you are much more into administrative role, right, rather than the sales roles. So your role will be recruitment and selection, training those salespeople, supervision and motivation, and evaluation and control. So no more sales. Maybe you'll be dealing with 10 percentage of 10, 20 percentage actual sales. 80 percentage of your work will be into all these recruiting salespeople. So think about in this way, those people who are coming to our campus, those people who generally are taking your interviews. So that itself they are doing, right? Recruitment and selection. Once you join those companies, they will be training you, evaluation, then monitoring, all those activities as a sales manager as you grow in your career. So most of you lose that chance, right? Because you are like a little bit concerned for next 3 years. 3 years or 5 years down the line, most of your activities won't be actual sales. It will be actually managing people. Recruitment and selection, right? This is again a big challenge, right? Think about any startup, right? So they need salespeople who will, from tomorrow onwards, they will go and make the sales, right? But they might not have money to pay. If it is experienced salespeople, they'll look into 15 lakh, 20 lakh package, right? Now they'll come to MBA colleges where they'll pay 6 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 8 lakhs, but they need that kind of experience who have 10 years or 15 years of experience, because they themselves do not have that kind of resources, right? And that is a big challenge because they need that. And it is not only for sales, it is everywhere. whenever you go, company needs a person who can join and start working from tomorrow, right? And that is the the ridiculous concept of on the job training. Either you are on the job or you are getting trained, right? But uh, anyhow, so that term coined on the job training, so you start working and think it as a training. But naturally that happens, right? Because the company's expectation is forget about training, you start working because I need results. So they need certain experience. And again, it is not only for sales. So that is a big question. Should you hire experienced salespeople or hire and train inexperienced people, right? Depends a lot of things. Size of the firm. If you are a big firm, you can pay money, you can train people. Companies like Infosys, TCS, they can recruit these people out of college, train them for 3 months to 6 months, then bring back to like kind of actual work, right? Small startup, they do not have that kind of training program, right? So they need to hire a person who will go and start coding from next day, right? Nature of selling task, what kind of like whether it is a inside sales, you are sitting at office and going and talking to customers, or it is a field sales, you are going and meeting customers. So if it is you are going and meeting customers, you need to have that kind of experience. But from the office, you can hire freshers also, right? So they have all the information, they can read it out and talk to customers. But if it is outside sales, field sales, somebody need to have that aura, somebody need to have that kind of communication skills. Do you have a training capability? If you do not have, you need to get some experienced people, right? Market experience, right? So that is something very important, right? As a company, how long you have been in that sector in market? Because if you do not have those sales managers who have that experience, how they are going to train your sales interns, right? Training, training again. The most challenging aspect is sales managers won't have time for training, and that is always a conflict between sales executives and managers, right? What kind of training? So sales managers will go to the field and you will learn on your own. What kind of training? It is a sales, it is a skill, you need not know, you need not have to, it is not a kind of something to teach on, right? Sales interns will have that, or sales executive, when you join a company, at least you need to have an idea, right? Whom to meet, whom to contact, how to talk, what to talk about, right? And that is always a big challenge, right? There is no standard solutions to it. Some companies have a standardized process, they do it well. Some companies are very bad at that, people start leaving, and that is where the attrition in sales people come. Whenever you do not get that kind of training and company expect you to deliver, and that is a big huge gap occurs in there, right? uh, so basically the idea is, if you are established company, you have a good training process, right? Long term you'll succeed, right? Maybe 3 to 6 months of the time you'll hire interns, you'll hire sales executives, and that is somewhere the companies do a mistake, right? So they look into short term goals. Okay, I hire a 6 lakh package or 8 lakh package MBA guy, tomorrow onwards send them to field. He or she gets frustrated and within 2 months he or she leaves the job. But if I take those resources, do a little bit of hand holding for next 3 to 6 months, right? Then start putting them into field. But again, like it a lot about companies' philosophy, what they think, what a companies, those people who are managing those company feels, right? Because you need a lot of, in B2B, it is not about the knowledge of a customer. You need about the product, you need about customers knowledge, you need about understanding about the competition, you need about knowledge about industry, what is happening in industry. So it is not about like in B2C, which you go and talk to people. If I do not understand how that software works, how a conversational tech product work, how am I going to make a sales speech? Somebody has to be there who will teach me. Okay, this is a component, these are the features, and this is how it works, right? And this is how customers use it. So at least that training has to happen. Without that, if somebody go and I do not know what is that actual product, I only heard about that product, it becomes problem, right? Supervision and motivation as a sales manager, again, like it is again a difficult task. Providing continuous training, counseling, time management verification, right? So there is a concept whenever you join, you'll come to know, right? A time sheet every week, every month, you have to say that, okay, at how much time you have done these kind of activities, right? So your sales manager will have given, okay, this much time in field sales, this much time in cold calling, this much time in prospecting. So you have to show actually, okay, Monday this much time I put on there, Tuesday I was visiting that customer, right? So you have to keep a sales diary, right? And that is what in internship also college was asking you. I don't know how many of you actually kept that, but that is a good practice, because any company you join in sales position, you have to maintain a sales diary, everyday diary. Diary means obviously right now it is all in system. You need not have to have a physical diary, but every day whatever you do, you have to keep a list of. Otherwise, what will happen by the month end? You have to remember, okay, what was I doing on 3rd of December or 2nd of December? Where was I? So that is the problem. So you have to maintain that diary, because that is something every month end, and based upon that only you'll get your salary, right? So sales managers do verify those, setting financial and activity quotas, right? So there is a financial quota, right? In B2C, it is very clear. Within the next 1 year, you have to meet the budget of 2 crore sales. So each quarter, 50 lakh sales, right? So it is easy to do. In B2B, little difficult. So that is why they put on activity quota. How many prospecting, how many customers you met, how many customers you did cold calling, how many customers you went on from lead to the customer or the deal closure, how many customers are on negotiation page. So that is what we are doing, that sales funnel, right? So forecasting, all those will come into B2B. Again, the motivation. So that is a requirement from company. Motivation, obviously, none of us want to keep writing, right? Okay, what I did, I want to do some work and I have to get paid for that. Nobody want to do administrative tasks. But believe me, as a salesperson, 30 to 40 percentage of work, if you do not do it correctly, will go into this administrative job. Maintaining sales record, maintaining all your personal record, maintaining all your like day-to-day travel records, right? 30 to 40 percentage in a month. If you are like coordinated, if you are time management, do time management perfectly, maybe 10 to 20 percentage. If you are poor in that, 30 to 40% of work, whether you are motivated or not, you have to do that, right? Administrative work. Evaluation and control, right? How do you evaluate your salespeople? If you are a sales manager, you have 100 sales executive or 50 sales executive, right? How do you like evaluate them, right? Obviously, some evaluation criteria is performance based. You have a few quota to meet, and whether that sales executives are meeting that or not. But now most of the companies are moving into behavioral aspect also, right? How did you meet that quota, right? It is not only about meeting the quota, right? What are your motivation? How, with like some sales people will be very aggressive. They made the quota, but everybody in the team is like kind of feeling negative about them, right? Earlier it was not there. 10 years back, it was only about kind of meeting the quota. But now companies have started realizing most of the attrition comes because your manager or your team members are very kind of aggressive or negative, right? They have a negative attitude. So that is where they're looking into behavioral aspect also. Obviously, the most of the established companies may not be the new ones, right? One big challenge is which is written here, informing your salespeople about the changes in company, right? And most of the sales managers miss that out. Any product changes, service changes, any policy changes, right? That has to be communicated clearly to the salespeople, right? Let's think about a typical example, right? And what most of the salespeople face. Generally, there is a range how much quota, how much discount you can provide to your customers, and every quarter, every 6 months, companies do keep changing that, right? Let's say a salesperson has gone to a customer and started like kind of closing a deal, and he is of the knowledge that his previous knowledge was that we can provide up to maximum 8 to 10% of discount, right? So he is started talking to customer, and almost verbally they have agreed of 8% of discount from the current price. Now suddenly when he comes to you and you are the manager, as a manager you have that information. No, this quarter company have reduced that to 6%, not more than 6%. So see the awkward situation you are putting that salesperson. He has already verbally finalized that okay, we'll give 8%. Now he has to go and go back to that customer and say that no, sir, I can maximum pay you 6%. And these are the very simple things, right? Oh, what kind of discount? What is the company policy on this? If there is a return, right? So because companies' policies keep changing, right? About not only about the new product, existing product services also, right? You need to make sure that your salespersons understand that clearly, right? That meeting every week has to happen. Now the most important aspect, how to deploy your salespeople, right? Typical scenario, most of you are now graduating, you will have your location, uh, like your own viewpoint about location. Some people, I'll say that I'll not go to south part, some of you will say I'll not go to north part, some of you will have the motivation that okay, no, I'll work only in my hometown, I'll not go out of my hometown, or I'll only work in metros, I'll not go to tier 2 tier 3 cities. And most of the same thing when you like kind of have experience also, okay, my husband is working somewhere or my wife is working somewhere, I'll not move out to that location, right? Now see the challenge of your sales manager, how he or she is going to handle those requests, right? So it is again one kind of situation, your own sales persons or personal's requirement. There can be many requirement from the company, requirement from the new product gets launched, who is going to sell those new products. Nobody will be willing to sell a new product because customers are not aware of about product. Nobody will buy, you will not get a quota, you will not get a commission. Think about yourself, you join a company where you know that year end there is a 1 lakh bonus, and within 3 months you realize that if you are posted in a metro it is easy to make a sale, but if you are in tier 2 tier 3 cities it is difficult to make a sales. Where will you want to get deployed? All of you will want to get in deployed in metros, or let's say you know that uh, only in northern part of India, you have a very good customer base, and they are only will make the sales. And those are the real practical problems which happen, right? As a sales manager, you have 100 or 50 or 30 sales people, and some of them will be excellent, some of them will be bad, some of them will be average. That combination is also you have to keep. You cannot put all the excellent people in one area, all the bad people in another area, bad sales people. Some people will start complaining, sir, you did not give me that account, he is going to get bonus, I will not get. Some will start complaining, no sir, my like parents are ill, I'll only work in my hometown. See the challenge as a sales manager you will face once you progress in your career. Right now your manager through when wherever you join as a sales executive who are going to face. So you'll start with a total level of selling effort, determine sales force size. Whenever this recruitment is happening, right? Every year before recruitment happens, they will know that okay, I have let's say 50 or 80 sales force. 10 are leaving or 10 are put resignation this year. So 40, but I have certain new product or solutions to launch. So I need this much additional sales effort. So I need to hire another 20, right? So I have 40, I need to hire 20. Then out of that 20, how many of them will be experienced? How many of them will be freshers, right? So that is where your recruitment selection will come into picture, right? Okay, we'll hire 5 experienced people, 10 freshers from MBA colleges, then 5 sales interns, right? So that is where you give that to recruitment frame. Now, once you have those 60 people, right? Organize selling effort, design sales district, sales territories, right? Again, it is we are looking into this geographical orientation. It might be product based also, or it might be market centered. So out of those 20 new hires, whom to put where? They will have their own request, own likings, own dislikings. Their experiences also will be different. Some are freshers, some are interns, some are experienced people. Experienced people will say that okay, I only have experience in this product, I only will sell this kind of product. Allocate selling effort, right? Allocate. So this is where your day-to-day activity as a sales manager, if I have let's say 10 sales people, right, how much effort they'll put on calling to account, right, going to different existing account, how many of them will going to doing cold calling, calling to new account or potential client, how many about training, understanding product, going to like warranty or going to sales, like service people understand what kind of problems customers are facing, right? How much time they will. So that is also in some companies they'll put a target, right? If you are calling a person, doing a cold call, how much time you should put on that cold call, then only it will be counted. So that has to be that much detail. So let's say you are doing, so if I say I just only call for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, that might not be taken as a call. When you are talking about a sales call, it has to be minimum amount of time, minimum amount of discussion has to happen, right? So that is how you deploy your sales force, right? There are different type of deployment or different type of decisions you have to take for deployment. So that ends your slide. Any last